With the Switch 2 just on the horizon, I thought this was the perfect opportunity to look back at the full history of handheld gaming. I hope you enjoy, and without further ado, let's get into it. Starting back in 1979, Mattel released Auto Race, marking the first handheld gaming console, if you can even call it that. It was only able to play one game, but even so, it was cutting edge for its time. Mind you, this is back when the Atari 2600 and Intellivision were out. Seeing Mattel's success, many other companies like Milton Bradley would start producing their own single-game handheld game consoles. The only really successful one was the Merlin Electronic Wizard, made by the Parker brothers. In June of this same year, the first Tiger handheld was released to the public. I want you to remember this, because this will be important later. The Merlin stayed popular until 1979. When the Milton Bradley Microvision came out. This was the first handheld game with interchangeable cartridges, fun fact. It remained relatively popular until 1989, when Nintendo released the Game Boy. This was the handheld gaming console during this time. It's estimated that it sold a total of 118.69 million units total. And it's pretty clear why. Looking at this compared to the incredibly simple Tiger handhelds, if I were a kid growing up in this time, there's no question that I'd want to go with Nintendo. This is partially because prior to this, Nintendo had already earned the public's respect back in 1983 with the release of the Nintendo Entertainment System, also known as the NES. The Game Boy had hundreds of titles, including exclusives like Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening and Super Mario Land. Another fun fact, this game introduced Princess Daisy to the Mario canon. Even though the colors were all different shades of green and the thing was incredibly bulky, people ate it up. So, seeing Nintendo's deep pockets, some other companies tried to throw their hat in the ring. In October of 1990, Sega dropped the Game Gear. It had better sound quality, actual color, and great marketing. But still, it was only able to get a third of the sales that the original Game Boy racked up. During this time, Atari and NEC dropped their own handhelds as well. These being the Atari Lynx and the Turbo Express. But still, none of them could compete with that little Game Boy. Soon, the next generation of handhelds would come around. So Nintendo dropped the Game Boy Color in October of 1998. Basically, it was just the same old Game Boy, but with better graphics and a little less bulky. Jeez, I wonder what that reminds me of. Mind you, this was the same year that the Neo Geo Pocket was released by SNK. This and the Neo Geo Pocket Color were both known for their arcade ports. Together, they sold a total of a little less than 2 million units. Anyways, these weren't all that important in the long run, but they're still worth bringing up today. For the longest time, nobody could compete with Nintendo, as sales skyrocketed with the Game Boy Advance. Eventually, Nintendo needed something bigger, something to revolutionize the handheld market, and they'd eventually find this in November of 2004 with the DS. With 154 million sales under its belt, the DS was the peak of Nintendo's handheld consoles. Not even 2017's Switch would surpass it. As of recording this, the Switch has only sold 152 million units worldwide. Now, the DS was a game changer in many ways. With the introduction of 2 screens and a touchscreen, the amount of mechanics that would be introduced in every single game in this console's library was absurd. It appealed to many, just like how the Wii would later on in 2006. And with the price point of $150, it was way cheaper than buying something like a GameCube. So it appealed to parents as well. Franchises like the Mario & Luigi RPG series got started here. But then, in March of 2005, Sony decided to step up to the top dog with the PSP, also known as the PlayStation Portal. This was the final challenger to step up to Nintendo, but unfortunately, the PlayStation Portal failed. Mind you, this was when the last Tiger handheld was released. Which is just insane to me. Like, who was buying these utter wastes of plastic for so long? Anyways, Nintendo would continue to crush their competition throughout the 2000s and the early 2010s. Yes, there were some who contested their reign, like the PS Vita, but none could outlast the 3DS, or Nintendo's next console. If Nintendo had stomped out the competition before, then now they were destroying it. Like I said before, the Switch had almost enough sales to rival the DS in its lifespan. And with the eShop, it's possible that the Switch has had the greatest game lineup out of all Nintendo consoles yet. With such bangers as Mario Odyssey, Tears of the Kingdom, Animal Crossing New Horizons, and so many others. it's hard not to think that this console was the best Nintendo had released. They also released a cheaper version, aptly named the Switch Lite, and a more powerful version called the Switch OLED model. Nintendo remained on the top for so long that it seemed like nothing would ever come close to their success. Why is it not talking about the PlayStation Portal Remote Player? Because it sucks. In recent years, however, there has been one console that's been pushing against and even winning against Nintendo: the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck is basically a portable computer that can actually run more than 30 frames per second. If you're a Nintendo fan like me, that's huge right now. Then, earlier this year, Nintendo announced that the rumors about the Switch 2 to be true. But since then, the community has been very divided. Many are protesting it because of its absurd price point, but it still sold out its pre-orders within the first hour on every website. So who knows what's coming next? And who knows the future of handheld gaming? And with that, that marks the end of our timeline. Except for the fact that the Tiger handhelds actually came back in 2023. What the fuck? Hey, thanks for sticking around to the end. I really enjoyed writing the script about this topic, especially with the Switch 2 right around the corner and all. I know I might have missed a few things, like Xbox planning to release their own handheld eventually, but I think I managed to get most of the important milestones. So I must say, thank you all for sticking around and taking time out of your day to watch this. If you enjoyed it, then please let me know in the comments down below, and while you're there, please subscribe. I'm a very small channel trying to grow, and any support would mean the world to me. Thanks again, bye.